Commander Kesafara stood in front of the main screen on his warship. His 4 eyes looked at the 3 human ships moving slowly through space. They looked like simple cargo ships. Big, slow, and helpless. Perfect targets for his hunting fleet. "Report," Kesafara said to his crew. His voice made a clicking sound that all Zephyrians made when they talked. "3 human vessels, Commander," said his scanner officer. "They appear to be merchant ships. No military escort. No weapons we can see." Kesafara's mouthparts moved in what humans would call a smile. His people had been hunting in this part of space for many cycles. They took cargo, sold prisoners, and destroyed ships. It was good business. These humans were new to space travel. They would be easy prey. "What do we know about these ... humans?" Kesafara asked. His intelligence officer checked his data pad. "New species, Commander. They only started traveling between stars 50 years ago. Their technology is simple. Their weapons are weak. They fight wars on their home planet with chemical explosives and metal bullets. The other Zephyrians on the bridge made laughing sounds. Chemical explosives. How primitive." The Zephyrians had energy weapons that could cut through ship armor like cutting through water. "Perfect," Kesafara said. "Signal the fleet. We will surround them and demand they surrender. If they refuse, we destroy 1 ship. The others will give up quickly." On the human ship USS Liberty, Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair. He was a tall man with short brown hair and calm blue eyes. He had fought in many battles before coming to space. His crew trusted him completely. "Sir," said Amy Rodriguez from her position at the navigation station, "the alien ships are moving to surround us." Jake nodded slowly. "How many ships, Amy?" 12, sir. They look like Zephyrian raiders." Jake looked at the main screen. The alien ships were moving into attack positions around his small group of 3 ships. To anyone watching, it looked like wolves surrounding sheep. "Open a channel to the Frontier and Pioneer," Jake said. The faces of Captain Lisa Kane and Captain Ben Hayes appeared on his screen. Lisa was a woman with red hair and green eyes. She had been a fighter pilot before becoming a ship captain. Ben was older, with gray hair and scars on his face from an explosion years ago. "Looks like we have company," Lisa said. Her voice was calm, but Jake could see the excitement in her eyes. 12 ships, Ben said, just like intelligence said there would be. Jake smiled. "Are your crews ready?" "Ready and waiting," Lisa replied. "My people are excited to finally do their job," Ben added. The 3 human ships continued moving slowly through space. To the Zephyrians, they looked like helpless cargo vessels. The ships were big and round, with large cargo sections and small crew areas. They had no visible weapons, no armor plating, no military markings. But looks could be very wrong. Inside the Liberty, Ryan Clark sat at his weapons station. His fingers moved over controls that looked like cargo management systems. But Ryan was not managing cargo. He was preparing weapons that were hidden inside fake cargo containers. "Weapons ready, sir," Ryan said quietly. "Good," Jake replied. "Wait for my signal." In the engine room, Chief Engineer Kelly Roberts watched her displays. The Liberty's engines looked old and simple from the outside. But Kelly had built something special inside them. Something the Zephyrians would not expect. "Power levels normal," Kelly reported. "Special systems ready." On the USS Frontier, Lieutenant Tony Martinez was doing the same thing. His ship looked like a cargo vessel, but it was really a warship in disguise. The fake cargo containers held missile launchers. The simple-looking hull had hidden armor underneath. The Zephyrian fleet moved closer. Commander Kesafara was pleased with how easy this would be. The human ships were not even trying to run away. They just kept moving slowly forward, like cattle walking to be slaughtered. Open a channel to the human ships, Kesethara ordered. The communications officer pressed buttons on his control panel. Channel open, Commander. Kesethara stood tall and tried to look frightening. Human ships, this is Commander Kesethara of the Zephyrian hunting fleet. You are surrounded. Power down your engines and prepare to be boarded. Surrender now, and some of you may live. On the Liberty's bridge, Jake listened to the alien commander's words. The universal translator made the clicking sounds into human speech. Jake looked at his crew. Amy was ready at navigation. Ryan was ready at weapons. Everyone was calm and prepared. Jake pressed the communication button. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human vessel Liberty. We are peaceful merchants carrying cargo to the colonies. We do not want trouble. Kesethara made his laughing sound again. Trouble has found you, human. You have 30 seconds to surrender. Jake looked at the tactical display. The alien ships were exactly where they wanted them to be. Not too close, but close enough. The trap was perfect. Amy, Jake said quietly, send the signal to all ships. Amy pressed a single button. A coded message went out to the Frontier and Pioneer. 3 simple words. Spring the trap. Jake sat back in his chair and smiled. The Zephyrians thought they were hunting helpless merchants. They had no idea they were about to learn why humans had a saying. There are no unarmed human ships. Only ships you haven't seen fight yet. The countdown began. 20 seconds. 15. 10. The Zephyrians prepared to destroy one human ship as an example to the others. The humans prepared to show the galaxy why attacking Earth's children was a very bad idea. The 30 seconds passed like hours. Commander Kesethara watched the human ships on his screen. They had not surrendered. They had not tried to run. They just kept moving forward slowly, like they did not understand the danger they were in. Humans are even more stupid than we thought, said the Zephyrian weapons officer. Fire a warning shot across the first ship, Kesethara ordered. Let them see our power. The weapons officer pressed his controls. A bright blue energy beam shot through space. It passed just in front of the Liberty, close enough that the human crew could see it on their screens. On the Liberty's bridge, Jake Morrison watched the energy beam pass by his ship. Well, they fired first, he said calmly. Amy, did you record that? Yes, sir, Amy Rodriguez replied. We have proof they attacked first. Jake pressed his communication button again. Zephyrian Commander, you just fired on a peaceful merchant vessel. That was a mistake. Kesethara made his clicking laugh sound. That was a warning, human. The next shot will not miss. Surrender now. I don't think so, Jake said. Then he spoke. To his crew. All stations, this is the captain. Battle stations. Show them what a real human ship looks like. Ryan Clark's fingers flew over his weapon controls. Weapons hot, sir. Dropping the disguise. All around the Liberty, panels slid open. What had looked like cargo containers now showed missile tubes and energy cannons. The simple-looking hull split apart to reveal heavy armor plating underneath. Gun turrets rose from hidden spaces. At the same time, the USS Frontier was changing too. Captain Lisa Kane stood on her bridge as her ship transformed. Drop all pretenses, she ordered. Let them see what they're really fighting. The Frontier's fake cargo sections fell away completely. Underneath was a warship with enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Railgun batteries extended from the ship's sides. Missile pods opened like deadly flowers. The USS Pioneer was doing the same thing. Captain Ben Hayes watched his crew work with smooth precision. Weapons systems online, reported his weapons officer. All defensive systems ready. The 3 human ships had changed from helpless cargo vessels into deadly warships in less than 30 seconds. The Zephyrians stared at their screens in shock. "Impossible," whispered Kesethara's scanner officer. "Those were cargo ships. We scanned them. They had no weapons." "Scan them again," Kesethara ordered, his voice showing fear for the first time. The new scans showed the truth. Each human ship had enough weapons to fight an entire fleet. They had armor that could stop anything the Zephyrians could shoot at them. They had shields that were stronger than anything in Zephyrian space. "Commander," said the communications officer, "the humans are sending another message." Jake Morrison's voice came over the speakers. His voice was still calm, but now there was something dangerous in it. "Zephyrian fleet, you have fired on human vessels. You have threatened human lives. This is your only chance to leave. Turn around and go home." Kesethara felt anger replace his fear. He was a Zephyrian commander. He had conquered dozens of species. He would not be frightened by 3 ships, no matter how many weapons they had. "All ships," he broadcast to his fleet, "attack the humans. Destroy them all." 12 Zephyrian warships opened fire at the same time. Energy beams and plasma missiles filled the space between the 2 fleets. The attack was powerful enough to destroy a space station. The human ships disappeared behind walls of explosions and energy. For a moment, Kesethara thought he had won. Then the explosions cleared. All 3 human ships were still there. Their shields glowed bright blue, but they had not been damaged. "Not even a little bit. How is that possible?" demanded the Zephyrian weapons officer. They got their answer quickly. The Liberty fired back. Tony Martinez on the frontier had been waiting for this moment. His point defense systems came online. Hundreds of small cannons began shooting down the Zephyrian missiles before they could hit his ship. The energy beams hit his shields and bounced off like rain hitting a window. "Point defense is working perfectly," Tony reported to Captain Kane. "Their weapons can't get through." Lisa Kane smiled. "Good. Now let's show them how humans fight. All weapons, fire at will." The Frontier's railguns fired. Instead of energy beams, they shot pieces of metal at incredible speed. The metal hit the Zephyrian ships so fast that their shields could not stop them. 2 alien ships exploded immediately. The Pioneer fired next. Captain Ben Hayes had ordered his crew to target the enemy's engines. "Disable them," he said. "Leave them floating, helpless." The Pioneer's missiles were different from anything the Zephyrians had seen. They moved and turned like living things, dodging the alien defensive fire. When they hit their targets, they did not explode. Instead, they sent out electrical pulses. That shut down the enemy ship's power systems. 3 more Zephyrian ships went dark. Floating helpless in space, the Liberty's turn came last. Jake Morrison had been studying the enemy formation. "Ryan, target their command ship. Single shot. Right through their bridge." Ryan Clark lined up his shot carefully. The Liberty had one special weapon that the other ships did not have. It was a cannon that shot pure energy, focused into a beam thinner than a human hair, but containing the power of a star. The beam hit Kesethara's ship exactly where Ryan had aimed it. It went through the ship's shields like they were not there. It cut through the armor like cutting through paper. It passed right through the bridge and out the other side. Kesethara and his entire bridge crew died instantly. Their ship began to spin out of control, systems failing one by one. In less than 2 minutes, the Zephyrian hunting fleet had lost half their ships. The survivors tried to retreat, but their engines were damaged. They could only move slowly. Captain Kane opened a communication channel to all the surviving alien ships. "Attention Zephyrian vessels. This is Captain Lisa Kane of the human ship Frontier. You attacked us without cause. You threatened peaceful merchants. This is what happens when you attack humans." She paused and continued. "You have 2 choices. Surrender now, and we will let you live. Try to fight, and we will destroy you all. You have 30 seconds to decide. The Zephyrian ships that could still move began to run away as fast as possible. The ones that were disabled sent surrender signals. Jake Morrison sat back in his command chair. "Well," he said to his crew, "that was easier than expected." Amy Rodriguez was checking her scanners. "Sir, I'm reading more ships coming this way." "A lot more," Jake nodded. "Reinforcements. They must have called for help before we disabled their communications." Lisa Kane's voice came over the communication system. "Looks like round 2 is coming, gentlemen." Ben Hayes joined the conversation. "Good. My crew is just getting warmed up." The 3 human captains looked at their tactical displays. More enemy ships were coming. Many more. But they were not worried. The Zephyrians had just learned their first lesson about fighting humans. They were about to learn many more. Admiral Vex Karen received the emergency message while he was eating his morning meal. His aide rushed into his private quarters, looking frightened. "Admiral, we have a problem," the aide said, breathing hard. "The hunting fleet at Kepler Junction is under attack." Vex Karen was older than most Zephyrians. He had been fighting space battles for over 40 years. He had never lost a fight. "What kind of attack?" he asked calmly. "Humans, sir. 3 human cargo ships destroyed half of Commander Kesathara's fleet." Vex Karen stopped eating. 3 cargo ships? That's impossible. Humans have no real military. Their ships are primitive. The aide handed him a datapad with the battle report. Vex Karen read it quickly. His 4 eyes grew wide with surprise and anger. "Get my fleet ready," he ordered. "All ships. We leave in 1 hour." "How many ships, Admiral?" "All of them. 30 ships should be enough to handle 3 human vessels, no matter what tricks they have." While Admiral Vex Karen prepared his fleet, the 3 human ships were busy. They had moved away from the battle site and were now hiding in an asteroid field near the Kepler Junction. But they were not just hiding. They were preparing. Captain Jake Morrison stood in the Liberty's main cargo bay. It was a huge space filled with containers and equipment. But most of the containers were not carrying normal cargo. "Chief Roberts, how are we doing with the preparations?" Jake asked. Chief Engineer Kelly Roberts wiped oil from her hands with a dirty cloth. "We're almost ready, Captain. The boys have been working non-stop for 6 hours." Jake looked around the cargo bay. His crew was busy taking apart the fake cargo containers and using the parts to build something new. They were making weapons. "Lots of weapons. What about the special project?" Jake asked. Kelly smiled. "Danny Foster came up with a brilliant idea. We're turning the cargo containers into kinetic weapons. Fill them with metal pieces and shoot them at the enemy ships, like giant shotgun shells." Danny Foster was working on one of the modified containers. Nearby, he was a young man with strong arms and a creative mind. Before joining the Space Navy, he had been an engineer who designed mining equipment. "Captain," Danny said, looking up from his work, "these containers can hold 2 tons of metal fragments each. When they hit an enemy ship and explode, it will be like getting hit by 1,000,000 bullets at the same time." Jake nodded approvingly. "Good work, Danny. How many can we make?" "We have parts for 50 containers, sir. That should be enough." On the USS Frontier, Captain Lisa Kane was working on a different kind of preparation. She stood in the communications room with Kate Johnson, her communications specialist. "Kate, have you broken their communication codes yet?" Lisa asked. Kate was a small woman with short black hair and very smart eyes. She had been working with alien communications for 5 years. "Almost there, Captain. Their encryption is pretty good, but not good enough." Kate's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. Numbers and symbols flowed across her screens. "Got it," she said suddenly. I can now read all their messages and send fake ones. Excellent, Lisa said. When the reinforcements arrive, I want you to cause as much confusion as possible. I already have some ideas, Captain. Did you know that Zephyrian ships use automated target sharing? If I send the right signals, I can make them shoot at each other. Lisa smiled. I like the way you think. On the USS Pioneer, Captain Ben Hayes was meeting with his medical officer. Dr. Sam Parker was a woman who had served in ground combat before becoming a ship's doctor. She knew how to heal people and how to hurt enemies. Doctor, I need you to analyze the wreckage from the ships we destroyed, Ben said. Looking for weak points? Sam asked. Exactly. We got lucky in the first fight. The next one will be harder. Sam nodded. I've already started. Zephyrian ships have a major weakness. Their power systems are centralized. Hit the right spot and the whole ship goes dark. Where is this weak spot? Sam brought up a holographic display of a Zephyrian ship. Here, she said, pointing to a section near the rear of the ship. It's protected, but not as well as their main guns. Good. I'll pass this information to the other ships. The three human captains met by video link to plan their strategy. They had been friends for many years and had fought together in several battles. Intelligence says the reinforcement fleet has 30 ships, Jake said. That's 10 times what we faced before. But they'll be expecting a normal space battle, Lisa replied. We need to do something they won't expect. Ben looked at the star chart on his screen. This asteroid field gives us advantages. We know it. They don't. What if we don't fight them like a normal fleet battle? Jake suggested. What if we fight like pirates? Hit and run. Use the asteroids for cover. Lisa's eyes lit up. Guerrilla warfare in space. I like it. We'll need to split up, Ben said. Make them think we're running scared. Draw them into the asteroid field where they're big ships. Can't maneuver easily. Jake nodded. And then we use our special weapons. Danny's kinetic rounds, Kate's communication tricks, everything we've prepared. The three captains spent 2 more hours planning their battle. They knew the enemy would arrive soon. When they did, they would find that fighting humans was very different from fighting anyone else in the galaxy. Amy Rodriguez detected the enemy fleet first. Captain, I'm reading 30 ships approaching fast. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Jake looked at his crew. They were ready. The Liberty's cargo bays were full of improvised weapons. The ship's systems had been modified for maximum combat effectiveness. Everyone knew their job. All right, people, Jake announced over the ship's communication system. This is it. Remember, we're not just fighting for ourselves. We're fighting to show the galaxy that humans don't make easy targets. Ryan Clark checked his weapons one last time. Kinetic rounds loaded and ready, sir. Kelly Roberts reported from engineering. All systems running at peak efficiency. We're ready for anything. The USS Frontier finished its preparations too. Kate Johnson had intercepted several enemy messages and was ready to cause chaos in their communications. Tony Martinez had modified the ship's point defense systems to shoot down not just missiles, but small enemy fighters too. The USS Pioneer completed loading its special surprise. Captain Ben Hayes had ordered his crew to fill several cargo containers with industrial mining explosives. They would look like normal cargo if scanned, but they were really massive bombs. Admiral Vexcarin's fleet arrived at the edge of the asteroid field. He was confident that 30 ships could handle 3 human vessels, no matter how many weapons they had hidden. Scan the area, he ordered. Find those human ships. Sir, I'm reading 3 ships deep in the asteroid field. They appear to be running away. Vexcarin smiled with all 4 of his mouths. Perfect. They're trapped. We'll surround the field and destroy them when they try to escape. But as his fleet moved into position, Admiral Vex Karen made the same mistake that Commander Casathara had made. He thought he was hunting helpless prey. He was actually walking into the most dangerous trap humans had ever set. Admiral Vex Karen stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Crushing Fang. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the asteroid field where the 3 human ships were hiding. His 30 warships surrounded the field like a net around fish. Report. He ordered his tactical officer. All ships in position, Admiral. The humans are trapped in the center of the field. They cannot escape without passing through our fleet. Vex Karen nodded with satisfaction. And they cannot fight effectively while hiding among the asteroids. Their weapons will hit the rocks instead of our ships. What Admiral Vex Karen did not know was that the humans had spent the last 8 hours turning the asteroid field into a weapon. Hidden inside many of the larger asteroids were bombs that Chief Engineer Carl Rodriguez and his teams had placed there. Carl was the brother of Amy Rodriguez from the Liberty. He was an expert at demolitions and had served in the mining colonies before joining the military. He knew exactly how to make rocks explode in the most dangerous ways possible. Charges are set on 47 asteroids, Carl reported to Captain Ben Hayes over the secure communication channel. We can blow them whenever you give the word. Excellent work, Carl, Ben replied. Stand by. On the USS Frontier, Pilot Officer Nina Clark had been busy mapping every possible route through the asteroid field. She was Amy Rodriguez's younger sister and had inherited the same talent for navigation. But Nina had something extra. She could fly a ship through spaces so tight that computers said it was impossible. I've found 17 different escape routes, Nina reported to Captain Lisa Kane, and 23 attack routes that will let us hit the enemy from directions they won't expect. Lisa studied the route map on her screen. This one here, she sighed, pointing to a path that went behind a large asteroid. Can the Pioneer fit through there? Barely, Nina said with a smile. But Captain Hayes is a good pilot. He can do it. The 3 human ships waited in the center of the asteroid field. To the Zephyrians watching from outside, they looked trapped and helpless. The truth was very different. Admiral Vex Karen opened a communication channel to the human ships. Human vessels, this is Admiral Vex Karen of the Zephyrian Navy. You are completely surrounded. You have no chance of escape. Surrender now, and your deaths will be quick. Captain Jake Morrison replied from the Liberty. Admiral, this is Captain Morrison. We are peaceful merchants. We have done nothing wrong. Why are you attacking us? Vex Karen made the clicking laugh that all Zephyrians made when they were amused. You destroyed half of Commander Casathara's fleet. That was an act of war. They attacked us first, Jake said calmly. We were defending ourselves. It does not matter, Vex Karen replied. You will all die anyway. All ships prepare to advance into the asteroid field. Destroy anything that moves. The Zephyrian fleet began to move forward. 30 warships entered the asteroid field from different directions. Their plan was simple: surround the humans and destroy them with overwhelming firepower. The first ship to enter the field was the destroyer Bloody Talon. Its captain was eager to prove himself to the admiral. He pushed his ship deep into the asteroids, looking for the human vessels. Contact, reported his scanner officer. I have 1 human ship bearing 27 Mark IV. Attack, ordered the captain. The Bloody Talon fired its main guns at what looked like the USS Pioneer. Energy beams shot through space and hit their target. The ship exploded in a ball of fire. Target destroyed, reported the weapons officer. But then the scanner officer looked confused. Sir, I'm still reading the human ship. It's behind us now. The captain spun around to look at his rear display. The Pioneer was there, completely undamaged. What they had destroyed was a decoy fake ship parts, arranged to look like a real vessel. How did they? The captain began to say. He never finished the sentence. The Pioneer fired a single missile that hit the bloody Talon's power core. Dr. Sam Parker had analyzed the wreckage from the first battle perfectly. She knew exactly where to hit. The Zephyrian ship went dark and began drifting helplessly all around the asteroid field. The same thing was happening. The human ships appeared and disappeared like ghosts. They would show up, fire a few shots, then vanish behind the asteroids before the Zephyrians could return fire. Kate Johnson on the frontier was having the time of her life. She was sending false messages to the Zephyrian ships, making them shoot at shadows and empty space. "Captain Kane," she reported with a big smile, "I just convinced 2 enemy ships that they were under attack by each other. They're shooting at each other instead of looking for us." Lisa Kane watched the battle on her tactical display. "Excellent work, Kate. How many ships are left?" 26, Captain. "We've disabled 4 without taking any damage ourselves." The battle continued for 2 hours. The Zephyrians became more and more frustrated as they chased the human ships through the asteroid maze. Every time they thought they had a target, it disappeared. Every time they fired their weapons, they hit empty space or asteroids. Admiral Vex Charon was getting angry. "How can 3 ships avoid 30? He demanded. "They're just humans." His tactical officer looked nervous. "Sir, they know this asteroid field better than we do. They're using it like a fortress." "Then we'll destroy the whole field," Vex Charon declared. "All ships, pull back to minimum safe distance. We'll use our heavy weapons to blast every asteroid to dust." The Zephyrian fleet began to retreat from the asteroid field. Their plan was to destroy everything with their biggest guns. It was a good plan. It would have worked against any normal enemy. But humans were not normal enemies. "They're pulling back," reported Amy Rodriguez from the Liberty. "Looks like they want to destroy the whole field." Captain Jake Morrison smiled grimly. "Perfect. Carl, are you ready?" "Ready and waiting, Captain," Carl Rodriguez replied from his position deep in the asteroid field. "Do it." Carl pressed a button on his control device. All around the asteroid field, 47 hidden bombs exploded at the same time. But these were not random explosions. Carl had calculated exactly where to place each bomb to create maximum chaos. The explosions sent huge chunks of rock flying in all directions. Some pieces were as big as houses. They flew toward the Zephyrian fleet at incredible speed. The asteroid debris hit the alien ships like a storm of giant bullets. Their shields were designed to stop energy weapons, not massive chunks of rock. Moving at high speed, ship after ship was damaged or destroyed by the flying debris. "Admiral," shouted the communications officer on the crushing Fang, "we're receiving distress calls from 12 ships. They've been hit by debris. 7 ships are requesting permission to retreat." Admiral Vex Charon stared at the chaos on his screen. Half his fleet was damaged or destroyed. The other half was scattered and confused. And somewhere in that cloud of dust and debris, 3 human ships were still waiting. "This is impossible," he whispered. "They're just merchants. They should not be able to fight like this." His tactical officer looked at the scanner readings. "Sir, the human ships are moving again. They're coming toward us." Through the cloud of asteroid dust, 3 shapes emerged. The USS Liberty, USS Frontier, and USS Pioneer flew in perfect formation. They had been hiding behind the largest asteroids when the explosions happened. Now they were ready for the final attack. Captain Lisa Kane opened a communication channel to the surviving Zephyrian ships. "Admiral Vex Charon, this is Captain Kane. You came here to hunt what you thought were helpless merchants. How does it feel to be the one being hunted?" Admiral Vex Charon did not reply. He was staring at his tactical display in shock. In less than 3 hours, his fleet of 30 ships had been reduced to fewer than 15, and those 15 were scattered, damaged, and demoralized. The 3 human ships moved closer. Their weapons were ready. Their crews were calm and professional. They had turned what should have been their destruction into the enemy's defeat. Hunters had become the hunted, and the hunt was not over yet. Admiral Vex Karen watched his fleet fall apart on the tactical display. Half his ships were destroyed or disabled. The other half were scattered among the asteroid debris, their crews confused and frightened. In 40 years of military service, he had never seen such a complete disaster. "Admiral," his communications officer said nervously, "the remaining ship captains are requesting orders." Vex Karen stared at the screen where the 3 human ships moved through the wreckage like predators hunting wounded prey. "Pull back," he ordered. "All ships retreat to maximum weapons range." The surviving Zephyrian ships tried to regroup, but they were too damaged and disorganized. Several ships had lost their main engines. Others had damaged weapon systems. The asteroid debris had done more damage than any normal space battle. On the Liberty's bridge, Captain Jake Morrison studied the enemy formation. "They're trying to retreat and regroup," he told his crew. "Should we let them?" Asked Ryan Clark from his weapons station. Jake considered this carefully. "Amy, scan their flagship. How badly is it damaged?" Amy Rodriguez worked her controls. "The big ship in the center appears to be undamaged, Captain. It stayed back during the asteroid bombardment." "That's their command ship," Jake realized. "Take it out, and the rest will surrender or run." But attacking the flagship would not be easy. It was the largest and most powerful ship in the Zephyrian fleet. Its weapons could destroy any one of the human ships if it got a clear shot. "Captain Lisa." Kane's voice came over the communication system. "Jake, I have an idea. What if we use the same trick that worked in the asteroid field?" "What do you mean?" Jake replied. "Make them think we're doing one thing while we're really doing something else. Distraction and misdirection." Jake smiled. Lisa always had good ideas. "What did you have in mind?" "Ben and I will attack from the front, making a lot of noise. You circle around behind and hit their engines. Without engines, that big ship becomes a floating target." Captain Ben Hayes joined the conversation. "I like it. My ship took some damage, but we can still fight." Greg Thompson, the tactical specialist, on Jake's ship, had been studying the Zephyrian flagship during the entire battle. He was a quiet man who noticed things that others missed. "Captain," Greg said, "I've been analyzing their ship design. That flagship has a weakness." "What kind of weakness?" "Their engine system uses a central power distributor. It's heavily armored. But there's one spot where the armor is thinner. If we hit it with a precision shot, we can disable their entire propulsion system." Jake looked at the tactical display. "Show me." Greg highlighted a section on the rear of the enemy flagship. "Here, sir. It's only a few meters wide, but if we can hit it exactly—" "Can you make that shot?" Greg nodded confidently. "Yes, sir. I've been calculating the firing solution for the last hour." The 3 human ships began their final attack. The Frontier and Pioneer moved toward the enemy fleet from the front, their weapons blazing. To the Zephyrians, it looked like a desperate frontal assault. Admiral Vex Karen saw the 2 human ships approaching and felt a moment of hope. "Finally," he said, "they're attacking like normal ships. All vessels, concentrate fire on those 2 ships." The remaining Zephyrian ships fired everything they had at the Frontier and Pioneer. Energy beams and plasma missiles filled space between the 2 fleets, but the human ships were not trying to destroy the enemy fleet. They were just trying to get the aliens' attention. Captain Kane and Captain Hayes flew their ships in evasive patterns, dodging most of the enemy fire while returning just enough shots to keep the Zephyrians focused on them, while the enemy was distracted. Captain Morrison took the liberty on a wide circle around the battle. His ship moved through the asteroid debris, using the large rocks for cover. The Zephyrians were so focused on the frontal attack that they did not notice one ship moving around behind them. "We're in position," Jake announced to his crew. "Greg, do you have your shot?" Greg Thompson's hands moved over his targeting controls with careful precision. On his screen, he could see the exact spot on the enemy flagship that he needed to hit. It was a difficult shot, a target only a few meters wide on a ship that was over a kilometer long. "Target acquired," Greg reported. "Firing solution locked." "Take the shot," Jake ordered. The Liberty's main gun fired a single, precise energy beam. The beam crossed space in less than a second and hit the Zephyrian flagship exactly where Greg had aimed it. The shot punched through the thin armor and destroyed the power distributor for the ship's engines. Admiral Vex Karen felt his ship shudder as the engines died. "Engineering report," he shouted. "Main engines are offline, Admiral," came the reply. "Power distributor destroyed. We cannot move." Vex Karen realized what had happened. While his fleet was fighting 2 human ships, the third had circled around and delivered a killing blow. His flagship was now helpless, drifting in space. Captain Jake Morrison opened a communication channel to the entire Zephyrian fleet. "Attention all Zephyrian vessels. This is Captain Morrison of the human Starship Liberty. Your flagship is disabled. Your fleet is scattered and damaged. You have one chance to live." The surviving Zephyrian ships stopped firing. Their crews waited to hear what the human captain would say. "You came here to attack what you thought were helpless merchants," Jake continued. "You learned that there are no helpless humans in space. Every human ship is ready to fight. Every human crew is trained for war." Admiral Vex Karen listened to the human captain's words with growing understanding. These were not merchants. They were warriors disguised as merchants. The entire cargo ship disguise had been a trap. "You will return to your space," Jake said. "You will tell your people what happened here. You will explain that attacking human ships is not hunting. It is suicide." Captain Lisa Kane added her voice to the message. "Any Zephyrian ship that attacks humans in the future will face the same fate. We do not start fights, but we always finish them." Admiral Vex Karen realized he had no choice. His fleet was destroyed. His flagship was helpless. If he surrendered now, some of his people might live. "Human ships," he said over the communication channel. "This is Admiral Vex Karen. We ... We surrender." "Good choice," Jake replied. "Collect your survivors and leave. Do not return to human space." The surviving Zephyrian ships began rescue operations, picking up crew members from the destroyed vessels. It took them 6 hours to collect all the survivors. During that time, the 3 human ships waited patiently, their weapons ready but not firing. When the rescue was complete, the Zephyrian fleet limped away from the battle site. They had entered the asteroid field as hunters, confident in their superiority. They left as broken survivors, carrying news that would change how the galaxy viewed humanity. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair as the enemy ships disappeared into hyperspace. "Well," he said to his crew, "I think that went well." Amy Rodriguez was already plotting a course to their original destination. "Where to now, Captain?" "The Centauri colonies," Jake replied. "We have actual cargo to deliver." Ryan Clark looked up from his weapons station. "Sir, should we change back to looking like cargo ships?" Jake thought about this for a moment. "No," he decided. "I think the word is going to spread pretty quickly about what happened here. Let people see what our ships really look like." The 3 human ships formed up and began their journey to the colonies. Behind them, they left wreckage and debris that would serve as a warning to anyone else who thought humans made easy targets. In Zephyrian space, Admiral Vescarin's report caused panic among the military leadership. A fleet of 30 ships had been destroyed by 3 human vessels. The humans had weapons and tactics that no one had seen before. The Zephyrian High Command issued new orders to all their ships. Avoid human vessels at all costs. Do not attack. Do not threaten. Do not even approach human ships without permission. Other alien species received similar reports from their spies and traders. The humans were not the weak, primitive species that everyone had thought. They were something much more dangerous. In human space, the battle was reported as a minor pirate encounter. 3 cargo ships had successfully defended themselves against raiders. It was the kind of thing that happened every week somewhere in the galaxy, but the humans knew the truth. There were no unarmed human ships. There were no defenseless human crews. Every person who went into space was ready to fight if necessary. The message spread quickly through the galaxy. Humans might look peaceful, but attacking them was the last mistake anyone would ever make. And in the vast darkness of space, human ships continued their journeys, carrying cargo and passengers to distant worlds. They looked like simple merchant vessels. They acted like peaceful traders, but anyone who tried to attack them would learn the same lesson that the Zephyrians had learned. When humans fight, they do not just win. They make sure their enemies never want to fight them again. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Frontier, watching the stars through the wide viewport. He had been commanding this colony ship for 3 years now, and he never got tired of seeing space. Today felt different, though. Something was wrong. Captain called his communications officer, Lisa Park. She was a smart woman who had joined the crew 2 years ago. Her voice sounded worried. "I'm getting strange readings from the outer sensors." Jake walked over to her station. "What kind of readings?" "Ships, sir. Big ones. They're not responding to our signals." Lisa's fingers moved quickly over her controls. "They're not showing up as human ships either." Jake felt his stomach tighten. Out here in the Kepler system, they were far from Earth. The only ships they should see were other human vessels, or maybe traders from the Galactic Council species. But traders always announced themselves. "How many ships?" Jake asked. "At least 20, sir. Maybe more." Lisa looked up at him with fear in her eyes. "Captain, they're moving into attack position." Jake had heard stories about the Galactic Council. 12 alien species who had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. They called themselves the protectors of peace and order. Humans had joined their organization 30 years ago, but always as the junior members. The aliens made sure humans knew their place. "Open a channel," Jake ordered. "All frequencies. Channel open, sir." Jake cleared his throat. "Unknown vessels. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the human colony ship New Frontier. Please identify yourselves and state your intentions." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then a voice came through the speakers. It sounded cold and mechanical, speaking perfect English with no emotion at all. "Human vessel, you are in violation of Galactic Council regulations. Your species has exceeded acceptable expansion limits. Prepare to receive correction." Jake's blood went cold. "Correction? What are you talking about? We have permits for this system. Everything is legal. Your permits are void. Human ambition has become a threat to galactic stability. The Council has voted. The correction begins now." The communication cut off. Jake stared at the screen, trying to understand what he had just heard. Then the first energy beams lit up space around his ship. "Shields up!" Jake shouted. "Evasive maneuvers." But it was too late. The alien ships were too fast, too powerful. The New Frontier shook as the first blasts hit their shields. Warning lights flashed red across the bridge. "Sir, the colony." Lisa pointed at her screen. "They're attacking the surface." Jake looked at the tactical display and felt sick. Bright flashes of light were appearing all over the planet below. Each flash meant death for thousands of people. Men, women, children who had come here to build new lives. "Get me Admiral Hayes on Earth," Jake said. His voice was steady, but inside he was shaking with rage. "I can't, sir. They're jamming all long-range communications." The ship shook again, harder this time. Jake grabbed the rail to keep from falling. "Captain, our shields are down to 60%, reported his tactical officer Ben Torres. "We can't take much more of this." Jake made a decision that would haunt him forever. All hands, abandon ship, get to the escape pods. Move. As his crew ran for the pods, Jake stayed on the bridge. He watched through the viewport as the beautiful colony they had spent years building burned under alien fire. The city of New Hope, where 50,000 people lived, was now a crater of melted glass. The last thing Jake saw before his own escape pod launched was the alien ships forming up over the dead planet. They hung there like vultures, their weapons still glowing hot from the slaughter. 3 days later, Admiral Kevin Hayes sat in his office on Earth's orbital station. The reports kept coming in, each one worse than the last. New Eden Colony, 800,000 dead. Haven's Rest, 900,000 dead. Meridian Station, 600,000 dead. Over 2 million human lives snuffed out in a matter of hours. The door chimed, and his aide walked in. "Sir, the Galactic Council is broadcasting a message. They want all human leaders to hear it. Put it on screen." The image that appeared made Hayes want to break something. It showed Council Prime Zeth Kalar, the leader of the Veltar species. He was tall and thin, with gray skin and forearms. His black eyes showed no warmth, no regret for what he had done. "People of Earth," Zeth Kalar began, his voice calm and superior. "Your species has forgotten its place in the galactic order. You expand too quickly. You ask too many questions. You challenge authority that has kept peace for millennia." Hayes gripped his chair arms so hard his knuckles went white. "The destruction of your 3 colonies was necessary," the alien continued. "It was a lesson in humility. A reminder that humans are still children in a galaxy run by adults." A message continued with demands. Humans would withdraw from 12 star systems immediately. They would accept permanent council oversight of all future expansion. They would reduce their military forces by 70%. They would pay tribute to the council for the privilege of existing in their galaxy. "You have 30 Earth days to comply," Zeth Kalar said. "Refuse, and your species will be exterminated. Choose wisely." The transmission ended. Hayes sat in silence for a long time, staring at the blank screen. His aide waited nervously by the door. Finally, Hayes spoke. "Get me the president. Get me the Joint Chiefs. Get me everyone." His voice was quiet, but there was something in it that made his aide step back. "Sir?" Hayes turned his chair around. His face was calm, but his eyes burned with cold fire. "It's time to send our response." 6 hours later, Hayes stood before the Council's communication array. Behind him, Earth's leaders watched in silence. The message he was about to send would determine the fate of humanity. "Council Prime Zeth Kalar," Hayes began, his voice steady and professional. "We have received your ultimatum. We have reviewed your demands. We have considered your threat." He paused, letting the weight of his words sink in. Message received. Response incoming. The transmission ended. Around the solar system, hidden bases came online. Ships that had never appeared on any public registry began powering up their engines. Deep in classified bunkers, men and women who had spent their careers preparing for this moment looked up from their work and smiled. The Galactic Council had just made the biggest mistake in their long, arrogant history. They had awakened something they didn't understand, something that had been waiting patiently for 30 years. They had awakened humanity's wrath. General Sam Carter stood in the deepest bunker on Earth, 2 miles below the Rocky Mountains. The room around him hummed with activity as dozens of technicians worked at glowing screens. This place didn't exist on any map. Most of Earth's government didn't even know it was here. "Sir, Project Nemesis is fully online," reported his assistant, Major Ryan Cole. "All shadow bases are responding." Sam nodded slowly. He had spent 20 years preparing for this day, hoping it would never come. When humans first met the Galactic Council, some leaders had been excited. Others, like Sam, had been suspicious. The aliens were too powerful, too arrogant. They looked at humans like insects. So Sam had built Project Nemesis, a secret plan to fight back if the aliens ever showed their true nature. "How many ships do we have?" Sam asked. "Ghost Fleet reports 200 vessels ready for combat, sir. All equipped with our new stealth systems." Sam smiled grimly. While the Council thought humans were struggling to build basic spaceships, Earth's best engineers had been working on something else entirely. They had been building invisible warships. "What about Dr. Singh's research?" "All weapon systems are ready, sir. The aliens won't know what hit them." Dr. Maya Singh looked up from her workstation across the room. She was a small woman with tired eyes, but her mind was brilliant. For 15 years, she had studied every piece of alien technology humans could get their hands on. She knew the Council's weapons better than they did. "General, we're ready to begin Phase 1, Maya said. Sam walked over to her station. The screen showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of red dots. Each dot was a Council military base, government building, or communication hub. "The information warfare begins in 10 minutes, Maya continued. "Ryan's team has been inside their networks for years. They never suspected a thing." In another part of the bunker, tech specialist Ryan Cole sat before a wall of screens. His fingers danced across multiple keyboards at once. Around him, 20 of Earth's best hackers worked in focused silence. "All right, people, this is it," Ryan said quietly. "Upload everything. Every dirty secret, every war crime, every lie they've told their own people. Let the galaxy see what their protectors really are." Ryan hit the final key. Across the galaxy, Council networks exploded with information. Classified documents appeared on public networks. Secret communications between Council leaders spread through alien social media. Video evidence of Council atrocities played on news. Broadcasts across 1,000 worlds. On the water world of Hydros Prime, the fish-like Aquari people read documents proving the Council had been poisoning their oceans for decades. On the desert planet Arid, the insect-like chitin discovered their food shortages were artificial, created by Council trade restrictions. Species after species learned the truth. The Galactic Council wasn't protecting anyone. They were parasites, feeding off the galaxy while keeping everyone else weak and dependent. But the humans weren't done. While chaos spread through Council space, something else was happening. Something that made Council military commanders wake up in cold sweats. Admiral Vera Nash of the Veltar fleet was the first to report it. She was commanding a patrol near the Rigel system when her sensors detected something impossible. "Ghost contact bearing 270, her sensor operator reported. "No energy signature, no mass reading, but something's there." "Visual confirmation?" Admiral Nash asked. "Negative, sir. Whatever it is, it's invisible to all our sensors except gravitational." As Nash watched, the ghost contact moved closer too. Her flagship. Then, for just a moment, it appeared on visual. A sleek black ship, unlike anything in the Council database. It was there for 3 seconds, long enough for her crew to see it clearly. Then it vanished again. Did we just see a human ship? Nash's tactical officer whispered. The ghost ship reappeared an hour later, this time near a council supply convoy. It didn't attack. It just watched, recorded, and disappeared. The message was clear. We can see you, but you can't see us. All across council space, similar reports came in. Invisible ships appearing near military bases, scanning installations, mapping defenses. The council's mighty fleets suddenly felt helpless. How do you fight an enemy you can't see? Commander Alex Reed sat in the captain's chair of the Stealth, destroyer Silent Death, one of the first ships of humanity's ghost fleet. His bridge was dark and quiet, designed to minimize any energy signatures that might give them away. Target acquired, his weapons officer reported. Council communication relay, bearing 180. Alex studied the massive space station on his screen. It was one of dozens that kept Council forces in contact across their territory. Destroying it would blind them in this entire sector. Fire. When ready, Alex ordered. The human weapons were unlike anything the Council had seen before. Instead of energy beams or missiles, they fired streams of accelerated metal particles. The projectiles moved so fast they were almost impossible to detect, and they hit with the force of small nuclear bombs. The Council station exploded in a brilliant flash. By the time the light faded, Silent Death was long gone, invisible among the stars. Similar attacks happened across the galaxy. Communication stations, supply depots, isolated patrol ships. The humans weren't trying to win big battles yet. They were cutting the Council's eyes and ears, making them deaf and blind. Captain Ben Torres commanded another ghost ship, the Phantom Strike. His target was different. He watched from the edge of a star system as a Council fleet gathered near the planet Zephyr Major, preparing to attack human settlements. 37 ships, his tactical officer reported, including 3 dreadnoughts. Ben smiled coldly. Perfect. Time to show them what fear feels like. Instead of attacking the fleet directly, Ben did something unexpected. He targeted the planet's orbital defense platforms first, destroying them with surgical precision. Then he broadcasted a message on all Council frequencies. Council fleet, this is Captain Ben Torres of the human starship Phantom Strike. You are in human space. You have 1 hour to withdraw or be destroyed. The Council Admiral laughed. 1 ship against our entire fleet? You humans truly are insane. Look around you, Ben replied calmly. The Council ships activated their sensors and froze. There weren't just 1 human ship. There were dozens, appearing and disappearing like ghosts around their formation. The mighty Council fleet was surrounded by enemies they couldn't see or target. Impossible, the Council Admiral whispered. We gave you fair warning, Ben said. Time's up. The ghost ships opened fire all at once. The Council fleet, powerful as it was, had no way to fight back against invisible enemies. In 20 minutes, 37 Council ships became expanding clouds of debris. Ben's message was broadcast across the galaxy. This is what you did to New Eden. This is what helplessness feels like. Back on Earth, General Carter watched the reports flow in. The first phase was working perfectly. Council communications were in chaos. Their fleets were being hunted by invisible predators. Most importantly, their subject species were starting to rebel. Sir, Major Cole reported, we're getting requests for help from 17 different species. They want to know if we'll support their independence movements. Carter nodded. Tell them yes. Any species that wants freedom from the Council has our backing. Dr. Singh looked up from her monitors. General, I'm reading massive Council fleet movements. They're pulling ships from everywhere, heading for human space. How many? Over 3,000 ships, sir. It looks like they're committing everything to crush us. Carter felt a cold satisfaction. The council was doing exactly what he had hoped. They were angry, scared, and making emotional decisions instead of smart ones. "Let them come," he said quietly. "Admiral Stone is ready for them." In the outer rim of human space, Admiral Rachel Stone stood on the bridge of the battleship Thunder of Earth. Around her, the largest human fleet ever assembled waited in the darkness. These weren't ghost ships designed for stealth. These were warships built for one purpose: to kill everything that came at them. "Admiral," her communications officer reported, "Ghost Fleet confirms Council forces are 3 days out. General Carter sends his compliments and says it's time to show them what humans can really do." Rachel smiled. She was the daughter of a farmer from Kansas, but she had studied war her entire life. The Council thought humans were primitive, violent creatures who got lucky with some alien technology. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "All ships, battle stations," Rachel commanded. "It's time to introduce the Council to human warfare." The war was about to begin in earnest. The Council was coming with everything they had, confident their superior numbers and technology would crush the human rebels quickly. But they didn't understand what they were really facing. They thought they were fighting primitives with stolen weapons. They were actually fighting an entire species that had been preparing for this war for 30 years. A species that had turned deception into an art form and violence into a science. The Council was about to discover why humans were the only species in the galaxy that still practiced war as a profession. Council Prime Zeth Kalar stood in the command center of his flagship, the massive dreadnought Eternal Dominion. Around him, the largest war fleet in galactic history prepared for battle. 3,000 ships stretched across space, their weapons charged and ready. "Reports from all sectors, Prime," his aide announced. "The human terrorist attacks have been contained. Our forces are moving into position to end this rebellion." Zeth Kalar nodded, his forearms crossed behind his back. "Excellent. These humans need to learn that there are consequences for defying the natural order." What the Council Prime didn't know was that 20 human ships were watching his every move. The ghost ships hung invisible in space, their sensors recording everything. Every weapon placement, every tactical formation, every weakness in the Council's mighty armada. Captain Ben Torres sat quietly in his command chair aboard Phantom Strike, studying the enemy formation. "They're lined up like a parade," he muttered. "No screening ships, no irregular patterns. They're fighting like they're still living in the old days." His weapons officer, Lieutenant Kate Murphy, smiled grimly. "Should we show them what modern warfare looks like, Captain?" "Not yet," Ben replied. "Admiral Stone wants them deeper in the system first. Let them commit fully before we spring the trap." The Council fleet moved forward confidently, expecting to crush any human resistance they found. They had fought rebellious species before. It always ended the same way: overwhelming force, quick surrender, and a return to proper order. But this time was different. This time, they were facing humans. Admiral Rachel Stone watched the approaching enemy fleet from her position near the asteroid belt. Her ships were hidden among the floating rocks, their energy signatures masked by the mineral interference. 200 human warships waited like sleeping predators. "Admiral," her tactical officer reported, "the Council fleet is entering the engagement zone. They're maintaining formation." Rachel studied the tactical display. The Council was doing exactly what her analysts had predicted. They were following their ancient battle doctrines, fighting the same way they had for centuries. "All ships, this is Admiral Stone," she announced on the fleet channel. "Remember your training. These aliens think they're superior to us. Let's show them what humans do to bullies." The first phase of the battle began not with massive ships firing at each other, but with something much smaller and deadlier: Human fighter squadrons, launched from hidden carriers among the asteroids, swept toward the Council formation, but these weren't ordinary fighters. They were equipped with experimental weapons that Dr. Maya Singh had designed specifically to counter alien defenses. Instead of trying to punch through heavy armor, they targeted something else entirely: the electronic systems that kept the big ships running. Lieutenant Colonel Kate Murphy led the first squadron personally. Her fighter, call sign Reaper 1, dove toward the nearest Council cruiser at incredible speed. "Deploying pulse torpedoes," she announced. The small weapons shot forward, designed not to explode, but to release powerful electromagnetic bursts. The Council ship's shields flickered and died. Its weapons went offline. Emergency lighting activated as backup systems struggled to compensate. In 30 seconds, a mighty warship had been reduced to a floating hulk. "Direct hit," Kate's wingman called out. "Their entire grid is down." Across the Council formation, the same scene repeated itself dozens of times. Human fighters swarmed, the alien ships like angry wasps, their special weapons turning advanced warships into helpless targets. Council Admiral Korvax, commanding the fleet's advance guard, stared at his displays in disbelief. "How are they doing this? Our shields should be impenetrable to primitive weapons." "Sir," his tactical officer reported with panic in his voice, "we're reading massive human ships emerging from the asteroid belt. They were hiding." That's when Admiral Stone's real fleet revealed itself. 200 human warships, each one bristling with weapons that no Council species had ever seen before. These weren't the captured alien technology that Council intelligence thought humans were using. These were entirely new weapons, designed by human minds for human purposes. "All ships, open fire," Rachel commanded. The human fleet unleashed hell. Their weapons were different from anything in the galactic database. Instead of energy beams, they fired solid projectiles at incredible speeds. Instead of missiles that could be shot down, they used guided kinetic rounds that couldn't be stopped. Council's mighty shields, designed to deflect energy weapons, were useless against chunks of metal, moving at significant fractions of light speed. Council ships that had survived hundreds of battles were torn apart like paper. Impossible. Admiral Korvax screamed as his flagship shuddered under impact. No species fights like this. Where did they learn these tactics? The answer would have terrified him. Humans hadn't learned these tactics from anyone. They had invented them. While other species had grown comfortable with traditional warfare, humans had spent centuries perfecting the art of killing. A battle that the Council expected to last hours was over in 90 minutes. Of the 3,000 ships they had brought to crush humanity, less than 800 limped away. The rest were debris floating in the darkness. But Admiral Stone wasn't done. As the surviving Council ships tried to retreat, they found their escape route blocked. Captain Ben Torres and his ghost fleet had circled around behind them, invisible and deadly. "Council ships," Ben announced on all frequencies, "you are surrounded. Surrender now or be destroyed." Admiral Korvax looked at his tactical display and felt despair wash over him. He was trapped between the human battle fleet and their ghost ships. His mighty armada was reduced to a few hundred damaged vessels. "We surrender," he transmitted, his voice broken. "Surrender denied," Ben replied coldly. "You murdered 2 million civilians. There are no prisoners in this war." The ghost ships opened fire, and the rest of the Council fleet died in space.news. Of the battle spread across the galaxy like wildfire. The mighty Galactic Council, rulers of the stars for millennia, had been utterly defeated by a species they considered primitive. Worse, the humans had made it look easy. On the Veltar homeworld, Council Prime Zeth Kalar received the reports with growing horror. His aides stood nervously before him, afraid to deliver the bad news. "Speak," Zeth Kalar commanded. "The fleet is destroyed, Prime. Admiral Korvax is dead. The humans ... They fought like nothing we've ever seen. Zeth Kalar's 4 arms trembled with rage. Deploy the home fleets. Call up every reserve. I want 10,000 ships sent to human space immediately. Sir? His aide said quietly, we might want to reconsider. The humans have proven they're more dangerous than we thought. Zeth Kalar struck his aide with one of his 4 hands, sending the smaller alien sprawling. Dangerous? They're insects. We have ruled this galaxy for 3,000 years. No upstart species will challenge that. But even as he gave his orders, Zeth Kalar felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Fear. The humans had done something impossible. They had taken the Council's best and destroyed them completely. Meanwhile, in human space, a different kind of warfare was beginning. Dr. Singh's Psychological Warfare Division had been studying their enemy for decades. They knew the fears and weaknesses of every Council species. The proud Zephyrian Empire, for example, valued honor above all else. Their warriors lived by strict codes of conduct that had guided them for millennia. So when human infiltrators began spreading stories about Zephyrian cowardice, about their greatest heroes actually being failures, the entire species fell into chaos. The hive-minded Klarn Collective depended on constant communication between their members. When human hackers introduced viruses that scrambled their telepathic networks, the Klarn civilization began to collapse from within. Most effective of all was what humans did to the Veltar themselves. The Council's leading species prided themselves on their superior intelligence and advanced technology. They saw themselves as the galaxy's natural rulers. So when human ships began appearing over Veltar colonies, broadcasting the species' own classified documents for everyone to see, the effect was devastating. The galaxy learned that the superior Veltar had stolen most of their technology from conquered species. Their great leaders were corrupt cowards who had never faced real danger. Captain Jake Morrison, survivor of the New Eden massacre, now commanded one of these psychological warfare missions. His ship, the Retribution, hung in orbit over the Veltar colony world of Prestige Prime. Broadcasting now, Captain, his communications officer reported. Jake watched as the planet's communication networks lit up with transmissions. Every Veltar citizen was receiving the same message. Complete records of their government's crimes against innocent species. Video footage of Council leaders laughing about the suffering they caused. Audio recordings of their plans to enslave the entire galaxy. This is for New Eden, Jake said quietly. Down on the planet's surface, riots began as Veltar citizens realized their entire society was built on lies. Similar uprisings spread across dozens of Council worlds as humans systematically destroyed their enemies' morale. But the humans weren't just fighting with weapons and propaganda. They were also building something new. As Council authority collapsed, dozens of oppressed species reached out to Earth for support. The fish-like Aquari wanted help. Council Prime Zeth Kalar stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his 4 arms shaking with barely controlled rage. Around the circular chamber, representatives of the 12-member species watched him with growing fear. The reports from the front lines were getting worse every day. Honored colleagues, Zeth Kalar began, his voice echoing through the vast hall. We face the greatest threat in our civilization's history. These humans have proven more dangerous than any enemy we have encountered. The insect-like ambassador from the Kaidan Collective clicked his mandibles nervously. Prime, perhaps we should consider negotiation. The humans seem willing to talk to other species. Zeth Kalar's black eyes fixed on the speaker with deadly intensity. Negotiation? They have murdered millions of our citizens. They have turned our own subjects against us. There can be no peace with these monsters. What the Council didn't know was that human listening devices had been planted throughout their capital city months ago. Every word of their secret meeting was being transmitted directly to Earth, where General Carter and his staff listened with cold satisfaction. "They're panicking," observed Dr. Maya Singh, studying the psychological profiles on her screen. "Zeth Kalar is making emotional decisions instead of tactical ones." General Carter nodded. "Good. Angry enemies make mistakes. What's our status on the Damocles array?" "All platforms are in position and ready, sir," reported Major Cole. "Dr. Walsh confirms that we can target every Council homeworld simultaneously." Carter smiled grimly. Dr. Peter Walsh had spent 15 years developing humanity's ultimate weapon. Not a planet killer, but something far more terrifying. A network of hidden platforms that could strike anywhere in the galaxy instantly. On the Council homeworld of Veltar Prime, the emergency session continued. The plant-like representative from the Verdani spoke in his slow, rustling voice. "Prime, we have lost contact with 47 of our colonies. The humans are liberating our agricultural worlds and giving them independence. Then we destroy the colonies," Zeth Kalar snarled. "If we cannot rule them, no one can." That decision sealed the Council's fate. By choosing to target civilian populations out of spite, they crossed a line that humans would never forgive. Admiral Rachel Stone received the new orders aboard her flagship as she prepared for the Council's final assault. Her face went cold as she read the reports of orbital bombardments against defenseless farming worlds. "Ma'am," her communications officer said quietly, "we're also receiving authorization for the Iron Doctrine." Rachel had hoped it would never come to this. The Iron Doctrine was humanity's commitment to total war. No mercy, no prisoners, no limits. Every Council citizen, military or civilian, became a legitimate target. "Understood," she replied. "Transmit new orders to all fleet commanders. We are now at unrestricted warfare status." The change was immediate and terrifying. Human forces that had been fighting with careful precision suddenly became utterly ruthless. Ghost ships began targeting Council civilian transports and supply convoys. Human Marines landed on Council worlds and began systematic destruction of infrastructure. Captain Jake Morrison led one of these operations on the industrial world of Forge Prime. His soldiers moved through the alien factories like efficient machines, placing explosives on every piece of important equipment. "Remember," Jake told his men, "no civilian casualties unless they resist. But every factory, every power plant, every piece of military equipment gets destroyed." The Veltar workers watched in terror as their industrial capacity was methodically eliminated. Within 6 hours, a planet that had produced warships for centuries was reduced to scrap metal and rubble. Similar operations took place across Council space. Humans didn't massacre civilians, but they destroyed everything that made modern civilization possible. Transportation networks, communication systems, industrial centers, all of it was systematically eliminated. The Council's response was exactly what General Carter had expected. Desperate and furious, they pulled every available ship from their defensive positions and sent them toward human space in one massive final assault. Council Admiral Nexus commanded this last great fleet from his flagship, a super dreadnought, Galaxy's Wrath. Around him, nearly 5,000 ships prepared for what everyone knew would be the decisive battle of the war. "This ends now," Nexus declared to his assembled captains. "We will crush the human homeworld and salt the ashes. Let the galaxy see what happens to those who defy the natural order." But as the Council fleet approached the Sol system, they encountered something they didn't expect: empty space. Earth's orbital defenses were powered down. The human fleet was nowhere to be seen. The system appeared completely defenseless. "Sir," Nexus's tactical officer reported, "we're detecting no significant military presence. It's like they've all run away. Nexus felt a cold suspicion creep up his spine. Scan for stealth signatures. The humans are famous for their invisible ships. Scans show nothing, sir. We have clear space all the way to Earth. Against his better judgment, Nexus ordered the fleet forward. They had come too far to turn back now. The Council's entire future depended on crushing humanity's homeworld. That's when Dr. Walsh activated the Damocles Array. Across the galaxy, on every Council homeworld, hidden platforms that had been waiting in deep space for years suddenly came online. Each platform was equipped with a single weapon, a kinetic projectile accelerated to near light speed by gravitational manipulation. The weapons fired simultaneously. On Veltar Prime, Council Prime Zeth Kalar was in his private chambers when the Astral attack came. He had just enough time to see a brilliant flash in the sky before the kinetic round hit the planet's surface with the force of a massive asteroid impact. The explosion was visible from space as Veltar Prime's capital city simply ceased to exist. A crater 50 miles wide marked where the center of galactic civilization had stood for 3,000 years. Similar strikes hit the other Council homeworlds at exactly the same moment. Not planet killers, but precision strikes that eliminated government centers, military headquarters, and industrial complexes. Billions of Council citizens survived, but their governments and military leadership were simply erased. Admiral Nexus received the reports aboard his flagship as his fleet approached Earth. His aide's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, all homeworlds have been struck. The Council is gone. Nexus stared at the tactical display, trying to process what he had just heard. In a single coordinated strike, humanity had decapitated the entire Galactic Council. Thousands of years of civilization destroyed in minutes. How? He whispered. The answer came from an unexpected source. The human fleet didn't appear out of stealth. Instead, Admiral Stone's ships emerged from behind Earth's moon, where they had been waiting patiently. Council fleet, came a broadcast. On all frequencies, this is Admiral Rachel Stone of the Human Colonial Authority. Your governments are destroyed. Your homeworlds are defenseless. You have 30 minutes to surrender unconditionally, or you will share their fate. Admiral Nexus looked at his massive fleet, still the largest armed force in the galaxy. He could fight. He could make the humans pay dearly for their victory. But what would be the point? Everything he had sworn to protect was already gone. All ships, he transmitted with a broken voice, stand down. We surrender. But Rachel Stone had learned from humanity's earlier mercy. Surrender denied, Admiral. You participated in the genocide of civilian populations. There are no prisoners. In this war, the human fleet opened fire, and the last great armada of the Galactic Council died in the cold vacuum of space. Within hours, the news spread across the galaxy. The Galactic Council was no more. Their mighty fleets were destroyed. Their homeworlds lay defenseless under the shadow of human weapons platforms. On dozens of liberated worlds, former Council subjects celebrated in the streets. The oppressors who had ruled them for millennia were finally gone, but the humans weren't. Finished. As Council military resistance collapsed, human fleets appeared over every major Council world. The message was always the same. Submit to human authority or face the consequences. Most surrendered immediately. A few tried to resist and were quickly crushed by overwhelming force. Within a month, every former Council territory was under human control. The galaxy held its breath, wondering what these terrifying humans would do with their new empire. Would they be worse than the Council? Would they rule through fear and oppression? The answer surprised everyone. Captain Ben Torres, now promoted to Admiral, stood on the bridge of his flagship as it approached the refugee camps on Veltar Prime. The planet's capital was gone. but millions of survivors needed help. Sir, his aide reported, we're receiving requests for humanitarian aid from 17 different locations. Ben nodded. Approve them all. Send medical supplies, food, shelter materials. Whatever they need. Sir, these are the same aliens who attacked our colonies. Ben looked out at the devastated planet below. And now they're refugees who need help. That's what separates us from them. Similar scenes played out across the former Council territory. Instead of enslaving their conquered enemies, humans began the largest humanitarian operation in galactic history. Food, medicine, and reconstruction supplies flowed to devastated worlds. The galaxy watched in amazement as their conquerors began healing the wounds of. 5 years after the fall of the Galactic Council, Admiral Jake Morrison stood in the Memorial Garden on New Eden. The planet had been rebuilt, but the memorial remained as a reminder of what had been lost. 2 million names were carved into black stone, each one representing a life cut short by alien arrogance. Jake was no longer the young captain who had watched his colony burn. The war had changed him, as it had changed all of humanity. The scared refugees who had once begged for mercy from their attackers were now the protectors of half the galaxy. Admiral, called a voice behind him. Jake turned to see Ambassador John Davis approaching, accompanied by a small group of alien delegates. John, Jake nodded. How did the vote go? John smiled. Unanimous. The Hydros Collective has formally requested membership in the Free Worlds Alliance. That makes 67 member species now. Jake looked at the alien delegates with interest. The fish-like Aquari had been among the first to ask for human protection after their homeworld was liberated. Now they were becoming full partners in the new galactic order. Admiral Morrison, the lead Aquari delegate, said in careful English, "My people wish to thank humanity once again. Our oceans are clean for the first time in centuries. Our children swim in waters their grandparents could only dream of." "You don't need to thank us," Jake replied. "We're all working together now." It was true. The galaxy that humans had inherited from the Council was broken and poisoned, but it was healing. Species that had been kept weak and dependent for millennia were discovering their own strength. Worlds that had been strip-mined for Council profit were being restored to their natural beauty. The transformation hadn't been easy. Many former Council species had struggled to accept their new reality. The proud Veltar, in particular, had found it difficult to go from rulers to refugees overnight. President Maria Lopez had handled that challenge with typical human pragmatism. Instead of punishing the Veltar for their leaders' crimes, she had offered them a choice: cooperation and reconstruction, or isolation and slow death. Most had chosen cooperation. The Veltar's advanced technology, combined with human organizational skills, had proven incredibly effective at solving galactic problems. Former enemies worked side by side, building something better than either could achieve alone. "Sir, Jake's aide interrupted. You have a call from Admiral Stone. Priority 1. Jake excused himself and walked to a private communication booth. Admiral Rachel Stone's face appeared on the screen, looking tired but satisfied. "Rachel, how are things in the Outer Rim?" "Quiet, finally," she replied. "The Vecnoran resistance officially surrendered this morning." That was the last holdout faction from the old Council forces. Jake felt relief wash over him. The Vecnoran had been the most stubborn of the Council species, refusing to accept the new order for years. Their surrender meant that organized resistance to human authority was finally over. Any casualties? None. They saw what happened to the others who tried to fight us and decided surrender was smarter. It was a pattern that had repeated throughout the former Council territory. A few die-hard groups would attempt to restore the old order, only to be crushed so quickly and completely that others gave up without trying. Humanity's military dominance was absolute, and everyone knew it. The Ghost Fleet still patrolled galactic space, invisible guardians ensuring that peace was maintained. The Damocles Array remained operational, its hidden platforms ready to strike anywhere in the galaxy within minutes. But the real foundation of human power wasn't military might. It was something far more dangerous to would-be tyrants: the loyalty of the people they protected. Dr. Maya Singh, now Director of Galactic Development, had spent years studying this phenomenon. Her latest report sat on President Lopez's desk, filled with statistics that would have been impossible under Council rule. Average lifespan across member worlds, up 37%. Childhood mortality, down 62%. Economic productivity, up 115%. Most importantly, the percentage of species reporting satisfaction with their government, 89%. The Council had ruled through fear and kept their subjects weak. Humans ruled through protection and made their allies strong. The difference was creating a new golden age of galactic civilization. Captain Ben Torres, now commanding the orbital defense platform above Earth, watched a stream of ships entering the Sol system. Trade vessels from dozens of worlds brought goods and knowledge to humanity's homeworld. Cultural exchange programs allowed alien students to study on Earth while human scientists worked on distant planets. Captain, his communications officer, reported, were receiving a priority transmission from the Zephyrian embassy. Put it through. The face that appeared on screen belonged to Ambassador Kethvon, a proud warrior from the bird-like Zephyrian species. His feathers were arranged in patterns that indicated deep respect, an honor rarely given to other species. Captain Torres, the ambassador said formally, I bring greetings from the Zephyrian High Command. We have completed construction of the new shipyard at Rigel 7. It will be ready to begin production of Alliance defense vessels next month. Ben smiled. The Zephyrians had been among the Council's most loyal military forces. Now they were building ships to defend the same species they had once oppressed. It was a remarkable transformation. Excellent news, Ambassador. I'll pass word to Admiral Stone. After the call ended, Ben looked out at Earth below. The blue marble that humans called home was now the unofficial capital of galactic civilization. Not because humans had claimed that status, but because other species had given it to them. That had been President Lopez's greatest achievement. Instead of building a human empire, she had created a voluntary alliance where Earth served as protector and coordinator rather than ruler. Each member species maintained their own government and culture while contributing to the common defense. It was a system that worked because it was based on mutual benefit rather than domination. Former Council subjects prospered under human protection, while humans gained access to technologies and resources that accelerated their own development. The result was a galaxy that was freer, safer, and more prosperous than it had been in thousands of years. On the planet Meridian, rebuilt. From the ashes of its destruction, children from a dozen different species played together in integrated schools. Human teachers worked alongside alien educators, sharing knowledge that had been jealously guarded under Council rule. One of those teachers was Lisa Park, the former communications officer who had served with Jake Morrison during the war. She had traded her uniform for civilian clothes, but her mission remained the same, protecting the future. Miss Park called one of her students, a young chiton whose insect-like features were softened by childish curiosity. Is it true that humans fought the whole galaxy and won? Lisa smiled. We didn't fight the whole galaxy, Zikta. We fought the bullies who were hurting everyone else. Then we helped everyone build something better. It was the standard answer human educators had been trained to give. The war was history. Now, but its lessons remained important. Strength without wisdom led to tyranny. Victory without mercy led to rebellion. Power without purpose led to corruption. Humanity had learned all of these lessons the hard way, watching the Council make every possible mistake over 30 years of observation. When their time came to rule, humans avoided the pitfalls that had destroyed their predecessors. That evening, Lisa stood on her apartment balcony, watching the alien sunset paint Meridian sky in colors that still amazed her. In the distance, she could see construction crews working on the new university campus. Veltar engineers worked alongside human architects and aquari artists, creating something beautiful from their combined talents. Her communication device chimed with a message from her old captain. Jake's words were simple but meaningful. Dinner. Tomorrow, New Eden has something special to show the Alliance delegates. Lisa smiled and typed back her acceptance. Whatever Jake had planned, she knew it would be worth seeing. The humans who had survived the Council's attempt at genocide had learned to appreciate every moment of peace they had earned. The next day, Jake stood before the Alliance Council in New Eden's reconstructed Capitol building. Representatives from 67 different species listened as he delivered his quarterly security report. Galactic crime rates continue to decline, he announced. Piracy is down 82% from pre-war levels. Armed conflicts between member species, 0. Requests for human military intervention, none this quarter. The numbers told the story of a galaxy at peace. The old Council had maintained order through oppression and fear. The Alliance maintained order through justice and mutual protection. There is one new development to report, Jake continued. Long-range sensors have detected signs of intelligent life in the Andromeda Galaxy. Initial contact protocols are being prepared in case we encounter another galactic civilization. A murmur went through the assembly. The discovery of aliens beyond their own galaxy was exciting, but also potentially dangerous. What if these new aliens were hostile? What if they were more advanced than anything in the Milky Way? Ambassador Davis stood to address the concern. The Alliance Council has voted to approach any contact with caution and wisdom. We will not repeat the mistakes of first contact between